going back to like obviously your return, Kristen, you're returning in April, is that right? Officially.
Yes.
Um, what would you say, will be your first kind of like focus as you come back, first 90 days kind of type thing? And, because I think, when I talk to people in the industry about Martin, I do feel like there's a feeling about there was some momentum kind of shift. I think last year in terms of like losing Papa John's and things like that. And I'd love to hear from both of you about just like where the agency is now, right? Is it
Mhm.
where you want it to be? And where should it be?
Hmm.
You want to start with your first 90 days, Kristen?
Oh, well, um, I mean, I don't know that the answer is ever is the agency where you want it to be. I mean, I think if you're ambitious and if you have growth aspirations and you want to get better at what you do, then the answer to that is always we can get better. And we can do more. Um, I I I love I love development. I love biz dev. I love I it's also morale is really important to me. Having the people that work at the company feel proud of what they do, feel proud to work there. Recruiting is super important to me. So I would imagine I'll do that, but I need to and I haven't been gone so long that
Right.
I don't know a lot of the clients, but there have been a lot of client changes.
Hmm.
We have a new client at Geico for the first time in
Right.
like a someone who's not an interim, someone who's staying in the role. And that's exciting. And she reaffirmed, I think last week in the press that she's keeping the business with Martin. So that's a
Hmm.
great thing. And but I look forward to getting to know her and getting to know some of the new clients that have been brought in. And I look forward to seeing some of the old friends that I've had, for years and years and years. I love knowing that I've got a UPS meeting on the books, and we've had that business for, you know, a lot of my
Long
career at
time.
Martin. And Martin does well with keeping relationships a long time. I do know there's always a portion of this business that turns over, but there's also for Martin a larger portion that doesn't. And that, of course, by this point, no one knows I'm coming back. So I think when they see this and they know, I'm sure I'll be able to make a lot more of those phone calls. I loved a lot of people. I mean, you remember the whole reason I took that Camino walk was because I had to break my love affair and habit with the ad business. And so I kind of unsubscribed from everything and had to kind of mentally, retrain my algorithm. And so there's a part of me that's like, oh my God, I get to be with so many of my good friends again. And that is lovely. I'm just like, I am looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a different battle than the battles I had when I was there, but I was never there when there wasn't a battle. So
Mm.
I think the armor is a familiar weight on the body.
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
Danny.
Brian. The question about momentum. Yeah, we lost some business last year, but I don't know that I can say any year in the history of any ad agency somebody hadn't lost business, but
Mhm.
we did. But momentum is fickle. I wouldn't say we lost momentum. In fact, I would point to us coming out of the acquisition whole as Martin a significant nod to our momentum.
Agreed.
It could have gone any number of ways. Um, None of our clients batted an eye when we assured them we'd still be Martin. They'd still have the people they hired. They still have the
Mhm.
agency they hired. I don't know if you saw the work we picked up. Hershey just did some
Mhm.
big work for them for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Um, Steel, we won Steel,
Mhm.
um, and we can't talk about it yet. But we also just picked up a new piece of business that you'll hear about soon.
Okay. Okay.
So I'd say our years aren't any different than any roller coaster year of any agency and of Martin, where we lose things and we lament those things and we think about them for not for long because we have to get back to work and figure out who's the next lucky client. And there is momentum this year. I mean, the pipeline is more full than it's been maybe ever it's any single time. So yeah, there are downturns in our business, there are downturns in the market. Talk about those more than they talk about their wins, sadly.
I also think that by the time this comes out, and if not, I'm sure you'll edit it out, but I think that the agency is gonna have been announced that for the 5th year in a row, they're on the FASTCO most innovative agency list. And
Mm.
that's not a small feat. And so I do think there are storylines of consistency and growth, very much so. And I completely agree that coming out of that, and it's also because the other half of my life at Mullen didn't make it out unscathed.
Right.
And that was always hard to see too. Storied agencies, DDB. There are a lot of really amazing creative places that we grew up studying the work of that didn't make it through. And so for Martin to make it through, and for the folks at Omnicom to believe that it is a worthy brand in and of itself is a credit to the team who's built it and kept it going.
You guys talked about morale, and I know we spoke about this last year. I think it was last year. There was the thing about Martin is you guys have a vocal leadership and vocal employees, and I think that's pretty much who you guys are, to be honest. And
Yes.
last year there was a open letter on Fishbowl addressing kind of where some employees felt leadership was falling short. Obviously, I don't really usually pay attention too much to Fishbowl, but this felt like kind of important. What did you get? What was your reaction initially
And
to
yet
that?
here you are, what, 2 years later, bringing up a fishbowl post?
Listen, I mean,
Ah,
how many times do I get to ask about this? It's like it's
good Lord.
Once,
uh
Brian.
there you go. I'm gonna use
I
it.
think
I'm
we
gonna
don't
use it.
take, I mean, I don't know. That post wasn't about, I didn't read it. I'm not on
Yeah.
Fishbowl, but
She
I
wasn't.
will
She was.
say,
Yeah.
I don't think that we take our strategy from any individual post. But I would also say, and obviously Danny will jump in, but I think that Martin has always, in many ways, I think it's a compliment in the sense that Martin, we don't work in a town where people quit all the time and go down the street to another agency. And so to have your staff hold you accountable and tell you things has always been true of Martin. There's always been a transparency with leadership. We share the numbers, we share the growth, we do postmortems when things don't go well. We talk about how we're going to get better. We talk about how to change. We talk about how to survive and thrive in an industry that does this. And so, while I'm sure the letter probably sounds like it was a hurt. I don't think leaders are ever immune from hearing from their staff. And so I actually think it is a hallmark of a transparent agency that people feel like they can talk that way. But I don't know a lot of
Well,
details.
and some content. I think that was around the time you guys had I think 5% layoffs at the time, and you guys were open about that publicly as well. Like, people are like, it's a hard time, right? It's not something easy, for
Sure.
people to. So, but I was curious, like, your reactions to that and what you guys kind of did to address it internally.
Yeah.
Because that's the type of stuff, I don't think we get to see a lot of times from the outside. Just how do agencies address employees, in that situation?
Well, I'll tell you what. It had to be brought to me because I don't subscribe to Fishbowl. But probably three reactions, and the first is hurt because it hurts. The second was, though, what I truly believe is that people love Martin, and that you say something like that because I would hope because you really actually care. And Elizabeth Pauls, who our chief brand
Mm.
officer, said we have to look for the meaning underneath those words. That there's something there, that if you care, you say those things because you want the place to be better, and you think there's something that needs to change. And the third thing we did, because we don't take everything it said seriously. We don't address everything that's said, but that seems significant enough. And anytime something that happens like that we feel is significant, we try to find for the ask in the words. What are the people asking for? And we get together as an executive committee, and we talked about that particular post multiple times, and we talked about other posts multiple times because we want to find out what really is being asked for. And then we don't address the agency directly about the post, but we do often address the agency based on the things that we try to read within something like that, to try to figure out is this a sentiment that's a person, or is it a widely held sentiment? And
Mhm.
we have those conversations with the agency. Part of our problem is that we have those kind of conversations with the agency, that we are open. And the thing that I wished more than anything, because I don't, those words hurt, but I would rather that person come and talk about the problem directly to me.
Mhm.
And I think most people who know me know that they could and not be afraid, because I can't actually help if you don't express what's really,
Right.
the only way to make the thing better, or the way to make the thing better, isn't to complain about the thing, but to have a conversation about the thing,
That's
and to dig deep about the thing. So it is in short, we take it seriously. We could ignore it, but that's not the kind of agency we are. It's not the kind of people that run the agency. Um, but we also can't address every disgruntled employee either.
Did you feel like it made the agency better when you guys did address it internally? Any like
Yes, always. It always makes us better when we interrogate the way people are feeling about our leadership,
right.
the way we're going to business, the way we go to business, the kind of clients all of those things, because maybe unlike a lot of places, we really, really care about the agency and the people that work for us. And we spend an inordinate amount of time talking about, and I don't think you can ever spend too much time talking about and thinking about and worrying about the people that work for you. And there's no way in the world any executive committee spends more time talking and thinking about the people that work for them than we do. It's impossible. I'll
Right.
say that unequivocally.
I'm curious, Danny, like, have you guys, we talked about the merger earlier. Have you guys been collaborating more with any new agency partners now that there's even more that you guys can collaborate with? Any examples you can talk about in terms of that? How's that been going so
Yeah.
far?
And let's call it an acquisition,
Yeah.
not a merger. They're different. But yeah, no, it has been, we just had this conversation, the executive committee on Friday, about the number of agencies and the capabilities that Omnicom has, that have been all of the people we've connected with have been amazing. And there've been conversations about how we can work together. And so far, it hasn't been the conversation about how we're all going to get paid when we work together. It's everyone's kind of opening up, and we have these capabilities and we love to partner with you. We work with Alma, for example.
Okay.
Years ago, we'd pretend that we knew the space with
Mm.
Hispanic consumers, and we'd get things translated and maybe transmuted.
Right.
But we work with them to develop a campaign together. So when we had the meeting, there was the work was authentic. It was part of the campaign. They were phenomenal partners. They came up with one of the platforms. That's one example. But we work with teams on the commerce side, and it's been pretty amazing that each one of us has had an individual experience with an agency or a group of people, capabilities within Omnicom, that we just said that everyone has been lovely, and everyone just wants to do the best work they can do. Um, and it's been great. It has supercharged our abilities. And as Kristen said, James Fenton, who is the CEO of the collective that we're a part of, has
Right.
been nothing but, he's been the guy. We come to him and he points us to the right place. And he's a great facilitator to get things done. So it could have been different.
Yeah.
It could have been crabs in a barrel, but it has felt like everyone wants the same thing, basically. And it's been reciprocal. So far, I have nothing but great things to say. And it sounds like a company line, but if you know me, I don't, I don't have those lines in me.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I either don't say anything, or I, or I, or I
Yeah.
say things like this. So, it's been really good.
Yeah, Danny's one of those people that's like, if he's not gonna say something nice, he's not gonna he will tell me, he's like, "I don't have
Really?
anything good to say about this," so
And I didn't say
yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't fishbowl.
Is it one of those situations where is it one of those situations where you don't have to maybe like, I think back in the day, like, an agency would have to grow, like, let's say, like, a social practice, for example, or, like, an experiential practice, like, do you like, is that just not as necessary now that you have kinda more people to work with, or how do you think about that?
I wouldn't say that, because the agencies still need their own capabilities. But what I will say is, what it's allowed us to do is, if there are capabilities we don't have, we don't have to then go, and capabilities that I think everyone would want to access. Like, we have to have our own social
Right.
capabilities, but we don't have to understand grocery store behavior, right? We don't want to build a whole analytics to understand the last 30 feet when there's a whole organization that's all they've done for the entire life of the agency. So we
Mhm.
are able to decide where we plug in, with who we plug in and when, but we also can supercharge something that we already have with some capabilities outside, and that allows focus for us. Here are the things we're going to do as an agency that we are the most competent and capable and necessary for our clients, because we have to start thinking about what our clients want, not what we want to build.
Right.
And then the rest is, well, clients also need this, but we don't have to build that. We just have to pick up a phone. And that is the beauty of being part of a network. You can talk about the independence, and there's upside being independent, but the upside to having a whole suite of stuff that you don't have to build and have experts at your fingertips, there's some upside to that for clients, absolutely, particularly the size of the clients that we work with who they want everything. We
Yeah.
can't give them everything.
Yeah. No, and I think to your point, like, I think there's a lot of discourse on if you want like the best creativity, some people are like, you have to go independent. I don't necessarily agree with that. Where do you stand on like, I don't know.
That is a way. That's a way. I mean,
Mhm.
Mischief does great work. I love those guys, but there's other ways. Obviously, there's more than one way.
Yeah.
For
It
sure.
just feels like when we start dividing and carving up, I don't think we win in that. I mean, for every Wyden, there's a Goodby or a Martin, and so there are good agencies on both sides, and there are pros and cons, and it just feels sometimes like this. It's a little bit of a road to nowhere.